fast, where truth moves faster than a Holstein calf. No waiting on some pretty page. We're charting new ground in the digital age. From genomic codes to ROI facts, we cut through the noise, no holding back. Not your daddy's dairy news tonight. We're sparking debates with every insight. The ring's not where the real fight's at. It's in the data, in the channel chat. From pasture to processor to your morning cup, we're raising the stakes. Try and get ahead of herd. Yeah! Where the future's more than just a word. Ahead of herd. Come on! The bullvine's calling, let your voice be heard.
Welcome to the Bullvine Podcast, your go-to source for fearless insights and practical advice that keep America's dairy farms thriving. Today, we're diving into a critical topic that most producers are ignoring: the hidden costs of labor turnover in the dairy industry. We're talking about a crisis that's quietly bleeding operations dry, costing farms up to $25,000 per departed worker. Stick around to learn why this isn't just an HR issue, but a full-blown productivity killer that could determine whether your operation leads the industry's next evolution or becomes another consolidation statistic. Let's dive in.
Welcome back to the Bullvine Podcast, the show that digs deep into the topics that matter to dairy producers.
That's right. Today, we're tackling a really interesting feature article from the Bullvine that's got everyone talking. Our deep dive today is into a crucial topic that many might overlook, titled Dairy's Hidden Crisis, the Cost of Turnover. It's a piece that challenges us, to fundamentally rethink what we perceive as the biggest threats to our operations.
And it truly does. For so long, the conversation has rightly centered on highly visible, often volatile factors like fluctuating milk prices, the relentless march of feed costs, or even the immediate impact of extreme weather. But this article really shifts the focus, inviting us to look closer to something that's happening right in your barn twice a day, every day. Your workforce. We're going to unpack why this isn't just an HR headache or, a minor staffing inconvenience, but a massive, insidious drain on productivity and profitability for dairy farms across the country. It's a hidden crisis, like the title says, that could be silently undermining even the most meticulously managed operations.
Precisely. Yeah. We'll delve into the surprising and often, underappreciated numbers behind this crisis, revealing the true economic impact that often goes untracked. We'll explore how geography isn't just a backdrop, but an active player in this labor dynamic, and even dissect the often misunderstood reality of automation versus, say, the marketing hype surrounding it. And crucially, we'll then pivot to what savvy producers are doing right now on the ground to tackle this challenge head-on with proactive and impactful solutions. So get ready to reevaluate what your biggest operational crisis might actually be.
So when I first read this deep dive, that opening line, what if I told you the biggest threat to your dairy isn't feed costs, it's walking out your barn door daily? It really made me pause. It immediately forces you to question what you've always considered to be your primary concerns. What was your initial reaction to such a bold claim? And how does the article then build its case for that argument?
That line, it's a bit of a gut punch, isn't it? My initial reaction was a mix of recognition and maybe a bit of a challenge. Recognition because anyone in dairy knows the constant struggle of finding and keeping good people. It's just part of the landscape. But also a challenge because it asks us to elevate labor concerns to the same level as, or maybe even above, feed and milk prices.
Yeah.
The article builds its case by immediately grounding us in a stark reality: the foundational dependency of the industry. It highlights that immigrant workers make up about 51% of the dairy workforce. And what's truly astonishing, really, is that they produce roughly 79% of America's milk.
Wow, 79%. That's huge.
It is. So this isn't just a staffing challenge, a matter of filling an empty slot. It's the very bedrock our entire industry relies on. It's a demographic reality that means a significant, maybe irreplaceable portion of our national milk supply is directly dependent on this specific group of individuals. This isn't just about your individual farm's labor pool. It's a systemic vulnerability. It exposes many producers to shifts in immigration policy, labor availability, or even local sentiment in really profound ways.
Yeah.
We're talking about the backbone of the industry here, and that makes any instability incredibly concerning.
That dependency is a truly critical point. It just underscores the delicate balance the industry operates on. And then, like you said, the article just hits you with the numbers. It's one thing to feel the pressure, but to see it quantified, well, The latest farm survey data, that's the Farmers Assuring Responsible Management Program, which gives us some really comprehensive insights, indicates an annual turnover of approximately 39% across participating dairies.
39%.
Nearly 4 out of 10 workers leaving every single year. Let's just, take a moment to let that sink in.
Yeah.
That's not merely a statistic. That represents constant disruption, perpetual instability, and frankly, outright chaos in the day-to-day operations. Imagine you have a team of 10, maybe 12 people working on your dairy. If 4 of those faces are changing every single year, that means you're almost constantly integrating new individuals, bringing them up to speed, managing the gaps left by those who departed.
It creates an environment of just constant churn, makes it incredibly difficult to achieve and maintain optimal efficiency or consistency or even a cohesive team culture.
Exactly. And for a dairy where consistency in routines, animal health, milking practices, all of that is paramount, this level of churn signifies a profound underlying systemic vulnerability, one that many farmers, understandably focused on more visible, immediate costs, might tragically overlook. It's a foundational issue impacting every single aspect of the business.
And this constant churn isn't just about the immediate loss of a worker, right?
Yeah.
The article vividly illustrates how the true expense really starts to compound, quietly eroding your bottom line in ways you might not even realize. It's far more than just a warm body leaving. The ripple effects are significant, extending far beyond just needing to replace someone. There's emerging research from Cornell's Agricultural Workforce Program. It suggests that even modest turnover correlates with 1–2% drops in milk production.
1 to 2%. Now, on paper, that might sound small, almost negligible maybe.
Yeah, seems small.
But for a dairy farmer listening right now, thinking about their hundreds or maybe thousands of cows over a full year, that adds up to a substantial, measurable volume of lost milk.
Absolutely. And consequently, a very real and significant amount of lost revenue.
And it's not just production, though, right? It permeates animal health.
Exactly. More sick calves, higher cow mortality. These aren't abstract consequences that you can just dismiss. They show up directly in your butterfat tests, which might be lower due to inconsistent milking routines, or maybe inconsistent cooling, or a whole host of related factors.
And certainly, they show up in your vet bills.
Oh, definitely. Increased health issues demand more attention, more medication, more intervention. These are tangible, costly outcomes, ones that often get attributed to other things.
Yeah.
Bad luck or the weather or just a tough season, masking the true culprit, workforce instability.
Yeah, it's that insidious cost that hides in plain sight. It just erodes efficiency and profitability without a clear line item on the ledger.
It gets even worse, though, when you factor in the seasonal swings. That introduces this whole other layer of unpredictability. The article mentions some regions reporting monthly turnover spiking to an alarming 20% during peak stress periods.
20% in a month.
Yeah. Specifically, April, when everyone is scrambling for field work, needing extra hands and attention for crops. And then again in July, when that oppressive summer heat becomes almost unbearable for outdoor work and the cows themselves are under incredible stress.
Right. Imagine trying to run efficient, tightly managed operations when 1 in 5 workers might just disappear in a single month.
It's nuts.
This isn't just a scheduling headache. It directly impacts consistent milking routines, which stresses cows and can affect milk quality. It means essential maintenance might get postponed, leading to unexpected equipment breakdowns that cost you even more in repairs and downtime.
And your experienced staff, they're not only maybe training new hires, but they're also covering double shifts, working longer hours.
Leading to burnout.
Exactly. Severe burnout and potentially their departure, creating this vicious cycle of instability.
Yeah, the ability to plan for herd health, breeding cycles, or even just daily milking consistency becomes incredibly difficult when your most crucial asset, your people, is constantly in flux, especially during those really critical periods.
And that constant turnover doesn't just create operational chaos. It's where the actual financial expense truly starts to compound. It becomes a profound opportunity cost. It's not just the immediate vacancy that costs you, it's the whole process of getting someone new up to speed. The article states that new hires take a significant amount of time to reach full productivity, a staggering 3 to 6 months.
3 to 6 months. That's a quarter to half a year.
Right. A quarter to half a year where they're not fully contributing, maybe still making mistakes, or just working slower than an experienced hand. And during that extended learning curve, your experienced workers get pulled away from their primary duties. They spend up to 30% of their time training newcomers.
30%! Think about that for a moment. 30% of your most skilled, most efficient staff's time is diverted to entry-level training.
It's a huge hidden labor cost. A direct opportunity cost where your best people aren't maximizing their core value to the farm because they're essentially acting as temporary educators.
It's like having your top milker, the one who knows every cow in the parlor and can spot a mastitis case from 20 paces.
Yeah.
Spending hours each day showing someone how to attach milkers properly instead of focusing on the intricacies of herd health or maximizing output.
Exactly. That's precious, highly skilled labor being used for basic instruction. And it's a drain on efficiency that often just goes unmeasured.
So if you meticulously put all these factors together, the direct costs of recruiting new talent, the significant investment in training, the ongoing losses from reduced productivity while new hires learn, the potential for equipment damage from inexperienced hands, and those subtle but very real quality issues that can arise, Cornell Extension's comprehensive cost analysis framework paints a really stark picture. It estimates the total financial impact at a staggering $15,000 to $25,000 per departed worker.
$15,000 to $25,000
Oh.
per worker.
Yeah. Now, let's make that tangible for you listening. Multiply that by the 39% annual turnover rate for even a moderately sized farm, say, a dairy with 20 employees. That's nearly 8 workers turning over annually. At the lower end, $15,000 per worker, you're looking at $120,000 in annual losses.
Wow.
If it's closer to the higher end, $25,000 per worker, that's a whopping $200,000.
That's potentially 6-figure annual losses.
Right. Losses that often aren't explicitly on the balance sheet. They're not a line item like feed or fuel. They're absorbed as lower overall profits, higher operating costs, or maybe just unexplained dips in performance.
It's not just a line item. It's a profound opportunity cost. Imagine the strategic investments you could make. Maybe that new parlor tech, an upgraded cooling system, even expanding your herd.
If you weren't constantly bleeding $15,000 to $25,000 for every worker who leaves.
Exactly. Instead of proactively growing your operation, you're perpetually playing catch-up, pouring capital into this revolving door of recruitment and training, effectively siphoning off funds that could drive real progress and long-term sustainability.
It highlights just how critical it is for producers to recognize these untracked but very real costs. They significantly impact the farm's bottom line and, well, long-term sustainability. It's truly an invisible drain. #2. Geography, demographics, and the reshaping dairy map.
So understanding these immense costs is really only the first step, right?
Yeah.
The next is recognizing how these challenges manifest differently depending on where you operate. And that brings us to the fascinating and often overlooked role of geography. What really strikes me about this workforce crisis, as the article points out, is how differently it plays out depending on where you farm. It's not just about the obvious things like, average wages or the local cost of living dictating labor availability. There are deeper structural differences.
Yeah, based on regional history and agricultural practices that create this complex mosaic across the country.
Right.
And the article breaks this down regionally, painting a fascinating, if sometimes challenging, picture. In traditional dairy states like, say, Wisconsin and New York, USDA data shows immigrant workers typically make up a significant portion, somewhere between 50–70% of the workforce.
Right, a long-standing critical component there.
Exactly. Deeply integrated into the fabric of dairy farming for generations. But if you head west to the large confined operations, places like Idaho or California's Central Valley, University of Minnesota Extension research indicates those percentages climb even higher, to a staggering 70–90%.
70 to 90%. That's almost the entire workforce in some cases.
It really is. And this extreme concentration creates different levels of reliance and consequently different levels of vulnerability. A state like New York might feel the pinch of labor shortages and high turnover, sure, but a large Western dairy could face, well, existential threats if that labor pool is disrupted.
Because their entire operational model, their very survival, is built upon it.
Right. It means solutions that might work in one region could be completely inadequate or even counterproductive for another. Underscores the need for tailored, localized strategies.
And this concentration of immigrant labor becomes even more pronounced on those really large operations. The article specifically mentions those 1,000-plus cow dairies that now dominate milk production in many areas. These aren't just bigger farms in terms of land or herd size. They've essentially built their entire labor model, their operational DNA, around experienced immigrant workers. And what's crucial here, and often undervalued, is that many of these workers bring generational dairy knowledge from their home countries.
That's a really interesting point. Not just labor, but inherited knowledge.
Exactly. This isn't just about having someone available to do the work. It's about having individuals with an innate, inherited understanding of cow behavior, nuanced animal husbandry, highly efficient milking practices, passed down through families for decades.
That's a unique and incredibly valuable asset you just can't replicate overnight with a quick training program.
Absolutely not. So the impact of losing these experienced workers isn't just finding a replacement body, it's the loss of deep inherited expertise. A kind of institutional knowledge that's almost impossible to quantify, but makes a palpable difference in herd health and productivity.
Creates an even greater vulnerability for these mega dairies then. Their workforce's collective knowledge is truly indispensable, making labor stability a real make-or-break factor.
Definitely.
And if that wasn't complex enough, climate adds another fascinating and often ignored layer to this labor dynamic. It's not just personal preference, it fundamentally shifts labor availability and retention. Think about it. The intense summer heat in places like Arizona and Southern California.
Oh yeah, brutal.
It creates working conditions that quite literally drive seasonal workforce migration towards indoor jobs. Workers, quite understandably, seek environments that are less physically demanding, safer, more comfortable during those heat waves that can last for months.
Makes sense.
Conversely, brutal winters in the northern tier, we're talking places where temperatures can plummet well below freezing for extended periods that can trigger departures if farm housing isn't adequate.
Right. If workers are living in substandard, unheated, or overcrowded conditions during freezing temperatures, facing harsh outdoor work,
They're simply not going to stay. They'll seek opportunities elsewhere with better living and working conditions.
so this constant push and pull based on environmental factors means that even if a farm offers competitive wages and excellent benefits, it still has to contend with these natural forces influencing labor stability.
Exactly. It illustrates how external, largely uncontrollable factors like weather significantly influence labor availability and stability, demanding highly localized, often incredibly creative solutions to retain staff. It's a battle against both economics and the elements.
So the result of all these interconnected factors, the regional reliance on immigrant labor, the concentration of expertise on larger operations, and the relentless influence of climate. As the article concludes, American dairy's geographic footprint is quietly and profoundly reshaping itself around workforce availability.
It's not just an abstract economic trend. It's a visible, tangible transformation of the industry landscape happening right now.
Operations are expanding where labor is accessible, stable, and affordable.
And simultaneously consolidating, shrinking, or even shutting down where it's not.
Right. Regions with a stable, available, often experienced workforce are seeing growth and investment. Areas struggling with chronic labor shortages are witnessing farms downsize, get forced into premature automation, or sadly, cease operations entirely.
This isn't just local economics, it's a macro-level shift in the industry, directly linked back to that foundational reliance on immigrant labor and the challenges tied to its availability and retention.
It really underscores that understanding these demographic and geographic realities is paramount for any dairy producer planning for the future. Ignoring these shifts isn't an option anymore. Adapting is crucial for survival.
Now, in almost every conversation about dairy labor, the topic inevitably shifts to automation, right? Specifically robotic milking. And the article gives us some solid numbers on that, showing there's clearly significant momentum and investment building. The global robotic milking market reached about $2.5 billion in 2025, with North America accounting for around 30% of that total.
Yeah, it's a huge investment for the industry. And many see it as the answer, maybe a silver bullet, to their persistent labor woes.
But the article really dives into the nuance there, doesn't it?
Absolutely. There's a lot of excitement and investment around automation, and for good reason it offers incredible potential. But this is where the article gets brutally honest about the economics, and it's a critical point for you listening, cutting through some of the marketing hype that often surrounds new technologies.
Right, those glossy brochures.
Exactly. They often promise incredibly short 2-3 year paybacks, making the decision seem like a no-brainer, a quick fix to escalating labor costs. However, joint analyses from highly respected Minnesota and Wisconsin dairy extension programs consistently show much more realistic timelines, like 5-7 years under typical operating conditions.
5 to 7 years versus 2 to 3, that's a significant difference, needs to be deeply factored into any serious financial planning.
It really does. A 2-year payback is a revolutionary investment, almost a guaranteed win. A 7-year payback is a strategic, long-term commitment requiring careful cash flow management and a clear vision.
So farmers need to manage their expectations against this robust data. Understanding the real return on investment takes considerably longer than often advertised. It's planning for a marathon, not a sprint.
And having the financial fortitude to see it through.
And it's not just about the payback period either. The article notes those shorter paybacks, the ones that seem almost too good to be true. They only happen under very specific, almost ideal circumstances. We're talking operations with extremely high labor costs to begin with, almost a perfect storm of economic pressure. Then you need perfect cow adaptation to the new robotic systems, which, as any producer knows, isn't always a given. Cows are creatures of habit. Change can be stressful.
Definitely.
And finally, you need exceptional top-tier management to implement and optimize the technology flawlessly from day one.
So for most operations, the reality is a much bumpier road.
Yeah, it highlights that automation isn't a magic bullet solving all problems. It requires a confluence of highly favorable conditions, significant investment, and masterful execution to achieve those expedited returns. Not typical for the average dairy producer.
It's a sophisticated tool demanding sophisticated planning. And bumpy is truly an understatement for some. This is where the real-world impact comes in. Multiple case studies from 2022 to 2024 document initial production volatility. Some farms experienced significant drops of 8–15% during the first year, as both cows and operators adapt.
8 to 15% drop. That's not a minor blip you can just absorb easily. That can be financially crippling short-term, especially when you're making a massive capital investment.
Exactly. One producer memorably described it to the author as, like, teaching calculus to cows while learning it yourself.
That paints a vivid picture, doesn't it?
It really does. It captures the dual challenge, getting the animals to comfortably adapt to a completely new routine, different milking intervals, procedures, while simultaneously training your existing team to operate and troubleshoot sophisticated new technology, often in real time, under pressure.
So that initial dip in production is a crucial consideration, often overlooked in the excitement. Requires robust financial planning and realistic expectations to weather that introductory period. It's a transition, not an immediate switch.
Precisely.
But here's what's truly interesting, and a point the article makes very well. Successful automation doesn't eliminate labor needs. It fundamentally transforms them. It's not about fewer people, it's about a different skill set entirely.
That's a key insight. You shift from needing experienced milkers who understand cow behavior, who can manually manage the parlor with an intuitive touch, to meeting highly skilled technical specialists. These individuals must be able to troubleshoot complex sensors, interpret sophisticated data analytics flowing from the robots, manage entire automated systems operating 24/7.
It's a profound shift. Requires different training programs, new recruitment strategies to attract different talent, potentially even higher skilled wages to secure and retain these technical experts.
Impacts the overall labor strategy for the entire farm. It's a move from relying heavily on physical labor and intuition to intellectual labor and technical acumen. Has profound implications for how farms build, manage, and compensate their teams.
It's not a reduction in labor, but an evolution.
Exactly. And that leads us neatly from technology to policy. Because even with the most advanced automation, you still need skilled people. Which brings us to an unavoidable, often frustrating part of this conversation, the broader policy landscape.
Yes, the elephant in the room.
You got it. Federal immigration policy and how profoundly it continues to impact dairy's labor challenges. The article doesn't shy away from it. It states unequivocally that current policy remains completely disconnected from the operational reality of dairy farming. Specifically, the H-2A program, which certified nearly 385,000 positions across various ag sectors in 2024, is virtually useless for year-round dairy operations.
Why is that? What's the fundamental mismatch?
The flaw lies in its design. It was created decades ago, tailored for seasonal crop work, like harvesting a field that only needs labor for a few months a year. It simply cannot accommodate the continuous biological requirements of dairy farming cows. Don't take vacations, right?
Yeah.
They don't operate on a seasonal schedule.
No, they need milking twice daily, 365 days a year, regardless of season, policy limits, or bureaucratic delays.
Exactly. This inherent mismatch makes the program an ineffective, almost irrelevant tool for a sector requiring continuous, reliable labor. Creates immense frustration for producers trying to operate legally.
And it's not just inadequate. The administrative burdens and processing delays make an already flawed system actively harmful. The article highlights that even when farms try to use H2A, workers often arrive weeks after they're desperately needed, if they arrive at all.
Due to bureaucratic bottlenecks, slow processing, complex logistics.
Right, and when you're milking twice daily, regardless of staffing problems, these delays aren't just inconvenient or a minor scheduling hiccup, they're operationally catastrophic.
Absolutely. Imagine having a critical position open for weeks, existing staff stretched thin, exhausted, covering extra shifts, knowing relief is theoretically coming but constantly delayed by red tape.
Directly impacts animal welfare, production consistency, team morale, leading to burnout and further turnover.
It highlights a real painful disconnect between policy and practice. The theoretical framework just doesn't meet the urgent daily living demands of a dairy operation.
And these policy failures directly contribute to those hidden costs of turnover we discussed earlier, exacerbating the crisis and putting immense pressure on farms trying to do things by the book. It's a system that actively hinders rather than helps.
So, with federal policy lagging and automation proven to be a longer-term, more complex solution than many initially hope, the question becomes, what's actually working on the ground? The article pivots here, shifting our focus to state-level innovation and smart producer strategies, offering a beacon of hope and practical pathways forward for those feeling the pinch.
That's where it gets really interesting, showing that where there's a will, there's often a way, even in the face of federal paralysis. Vermont's Milk with Dignity program is highlighted as a prime example, a worker-driven, advocacy-supported initiative that now covers an impressive 20% of the state's dairy production.
20% is significant. How does it work? Why is it successful?
Well, it succeeds because it fundamentally changes the dynamic. Instead of top-down mandates, workers themselves helped write the standards for fair labor practices, ensuring they were practical and relevant. They then participate in monitoring to ensure compliance, giving them a voice and a real stake in the process.
Okay, so worker involvement is key.
Absolutely. And crucially, participating farms receive economic premiums for their involvement. This creates a powerful incentive and a win-win scenario where worker welfare and farm profitability aren't seen as opposing forces, but as complementary goals.
That makes sense. Aligning incentives. It's a testament to the power of community-led collaborative solutions when federal action is stalled. Shows that empowering those on the front lines and incentivizing participation can lead to real, impactful change.
And beyond specific programs, the article makes a compelling case for smart producers taking matters into their own hands, investing in comprehensive retention strategies that show measurable and impressive results. The article gives some powerful examples here that should resonate with anyone looking to cut those hidden costs and build a more stable team.
Like what, for instance?
For instance, quality housing investments of $50,000 to $100,000 per unit. Now, that's undoubtedly a significant upfront capital cost.
Sure is.
But they're demonstrating clear returns through substantially reduced turnover. This shows forward-thinking farms recognize that providing safe, comfortable, dignified living conditions isn't just a perk or a humane gesture.
It's a strategic investment.
Exactly. A strategic investment in their workforce stability, akin to investing in a new tractor or a parlor upgrade. The ROI isn't just financial, it's about creating a more committed, healthier, stable team, which ultimately leads to a more resilient operation, higher productivity, and less stress for everyone.
Addresses a fundamental human need and directly impacts an employee's decision to stay or go. Makes perfect sense.
Even more compelling, operations implementing structured career development pathways, offering language training, creating genuine advancement opportunities. They're reporting a dramatic drop in turnover.
How dramatic?
From over 45% to under 15% within just 2 years.
Wow, cutting turnover by 2/3, that's huge.
It really is. That's not just a massive improvement in employee satisfaction. It's a direct and powerful hit on those staggering $15,000, $25,000 per departed worker costs we talked about earlier.
Right back to the bottom line.
It makes the case very clearly that investing in your people's growth, skills, and overall well-being isn't just good for morale. It's a direct and powerful strategy to boost your farm's financial health, productivity, and long-term sustainability.
Demonstrates that when employees see a future with your operation, learn new skills, feel valued, understand there's a path for growth, they are far more likely to stay. Turns that revolving door into a stable, highly functional, dedicated team. It's about cultivating loyalty and commitment.
Exactly.
The article then provides a fantastic Your Monday Morning Action Plan for you listening, offering concrete steps you can take right now without waiting for policy changes or massive capital outlays. It encourages farmers to start with brutal honesty about your vulnerabilities.
Brutal honesty, what does that entail?
It means meticulously documenting your current workforce composition. Who are your critical personnel? Identifying your truly critical positions, the ones that, if empty, would cripple your operation, and developing emergency protocols for various disruption scenarios. Most operations, it says, have no idea how exposed they truly are until a crisis hits.
So this first step isn't about finding a solution. It's about deeply understanding the problem you're trying to solve and accurately assessing your current risk profile.
Precisely. Without this honest self-assessment, any subsequent action plan will be built on shaky ground, leaving you vulnerable. It's about facing reality head-on.
And it's not an either situation with technology or people, right? That's a common misconception that often creates unnecessary internal debate.
Spot on. The plan wisely suggests planning technology adoption in phases alongside comprehensive investments in retention. You need both strategies working together for long-term resilience.
Automation can certainly address some labor needs, particularly the repetitive, physically demanding tasks.
But it will never fully replace the need for skilled, dedicated human talent, especially for nuanced animal care or complex system management.
So rather than choosing one over the other, the most resilient and forward-thinking farms integrate both strategically, using technology to enhance efficiency and reduce strain while simultaneously nurturing, developing, and retaining their invaluable human capital.
It's about creating a synergistic relationship, not a replacement strategy. Tech empowers people, people manage tech.
Good way to put it.
Building community partnerships before you desperately need them is another key piece of advice. Moving from internal assessment to external networking and collaboration. The article suggests establishing proactive relationships with neighboring operations for potential labor sharing during peak times, unexpected absences, or emergencies.
That makes a lot of sense. Mutual support.
It also heavily emphasizes connecting with local community colleges or ag extension offices for training programs. Not just for new hires to get them up to speed quickly, but also for upskilling your existing workforce, fostering that career development we just discussed. And developing agreements with reliable, pre-vetted staffing services can provide a crucial safety net for short-term needs.
So this proactive networking can be an absolute lifesaver, allows you to tap into external resources and support systems when your internal capacity is strained, preventing those scrambling scenarios when a crisis inevitably hits.
It's about being prepared and having a robust support system, not just reacting in isolation.
And here are 2 low-cost, high-impact moves you can implement this week that can make an immediate difference, tackling some of those initial turnover challenges.
Okay, what are they?
First, standardize your onboarding process. Written protocols, clear expectations, regular milestone reviews. This ensures every new hire gets a consistent, supportive start, reducing confusion, anxiety, early errors, helps them feel integrated and valued from day one.
Makes sense. Consistency is key.
Second, train your supervisors in basic coaching techniques. Because, as the article points out, many turnover decisions happen within the first 90 days.
90 days, wow.
And often these decisions are fundamentally based on the employee's relationship with their direct manager. A good supervisor equipped with coaching skills can be the difference between a new hire staying and thriving or leaving disillusioned and frustrated.
So it's about foundational support, making sure your existing team is equipped to integrate new members effectively and foster a positive, productive work environment right from the start.
Exactly.
Finally, the article stresses the importance of using extension data to benchmark and track progress. Stop making workforce decisions based purely on gut feelings or anecdotal evidence when objective, reliable data is readily available through university extension programs.
Right. Use the data.
These programs offer invaluable insights into industry trends, best practices, performance metrics, allowing you to compare your farm's turnover rates, training effectiveness, retention strategies against regional or national averages. This is about data-driven management in action, moving from subjective opinions to informed decisions that can truly impact your bottom line and improve operational resilience. It's about having a clear, evidence-based picture of where you stand and where you need to go, ensuring your investments in your people are strategic and effective.
The article leaves us with a provocative thought that really brings home the urgency of this hidden crisis. If you lost 40% of your workforce tomorrow, not gradually over months, but suddenly, could you still milk your cows and maintain animal welfare standards?
That's a stark, almost unsettling question.
It is, and it reminds us that this isn't a theoretical scenario or some hyperbolic what if. Agricultural regions have experienced similar sudden reductions following enforcement actions, economic disruptions, sudden changes in the competitive labor market.
Yeah, it happens.
The difference between survival and bankruptcy, the article asserts, often comes down to preparation and strategic thinking long before the crisis forces your hand. It's about building resilience now before you're truly tested. ## actionable insights. So after all that discussion, that deep dive into the true costs of turnover, the regional complexities, the reality of technology, what's the key takeaway for you, our farmer listener, today that we should really emphasize? What's the one thing they should remember when they get back to the barn?
That's a great question because there really is so much to absorb from this deep dive. But if I had to distill it down to one absolute top takeaway, it's this. Investing in your people is not an expense. It's a profound, quantifiable cost saver and an investment in your farm's future. The article makes it crystal clear that by investing in things like decent housing, structured career pathways, you could save a staggering $15,000 to $25,000 per worker you retain.
$15,000 to $25,000 saved per retained worker.
Exactly. Those Vermont farms cutting turnover from over 45% to under 15% in 2 years. That's a powerful testament to the direct correlation. It's a direct hit on your bottom line. You're not just being a good employer, you're making a smart business decision that significantly impacts profitability and reduces wasted capital.
I couldn't agree more. And to build on that, another critical insight for farmers is to get real about the time and the true cost of new hires and plan proactively to mitigate that. You need to budget a substantial 3 to 6 months for a new hire to reach full productivity, during which your veteran staff are losing up to 30% of their valuable time to training.
That's a massive hidden drain on resources.
It is. So streamlining and standardizing your onboarding process isn't just about efficiency, it's about immediately cutting that waste, getting people productive faster, integrating them more effectively to reduce the initial strain on your existing team, and, crucially, on your bottom line. It's about accelerating the path to contribution.
And we absolutely cannot ignore those predictable seasonal impacts that can wreak havoc on operations. Prepare your staffing around those seasonal peaks. That spike to 20% monthly turnover in April for field work, and again in July due to intense heat stress.
They aren't surprises. They're predictable patterns year after year.
Right. Don't let them catch you off guard. Schedule accordingly. Proactively plan for labor sharing with neighbors, or you risk your entire operation spiraling during crucial times when fieldwork is demanding or cows are under severe heat stress. Proactive planning for these periods is just non-negotiable for maintaining stability and preventing costly disruptions.
Finally, for those considering automation, a crucial actionable insight is to be realistic, brutally realistic, about robotic milking payback periods. Don't believe paybacks under 5 years. The robust data from Minnesota and Wisconsin Extension consistently shows 5-7 years is a much more accurate timeline under typical operating conditions.
5 to 7 years. Manage expectations.
And even with robots, remember, you'll still need a skilled, tech-savvy workforce to manage and troubleshoot these complex systems, not fewer people. Automation transforms your labor needs. It doesn't eliminate them.
So it's all about a balanced, strategic approach. Understanding technology is a powerful tool, but it's not a complete replacement for human talent. It's a partnership. #outro. Those are truly great points. And that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. For more articles and insights on these crucial topics, be sure to visit www.thebullvine.com.
Don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss future deep dives. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time for another comprehensive look into the issues shaping the dairy industry.
That's a wrap on today's episode of the Bullvine Podcast. We hope this deep dive into workforce turnover costs opened your eyes to the real crisis happening in barns across America, and more importantly, gave you actionable strategies to protect your operation. Remember, your cows don't negotiate milking schedules based on who shows up. It's time to get serious about the people who make it all happen. For more bold truths and practical insights that challenge conventional dairy wisdom, subscribe to the Bullvine Podcast wherever you get your shows. Visit us at www.thebullvine.com for exclusive articles, market reports, and industry analysis you won't find anywhere else. Until next time, keep those cows happy, the milk flowing, and your farm profitable. Thanks for listening.